Okay, everybody, let's take it from the top.
To all who come to this happy place, welcome.
Hi, ho, everybody, and welcome back to D Plus Us, the show about all things Disney. I'm one of your hosts, Griffin Donnell, Griffy D-Pad. With me, as always, the wonderful, the amazing Mr. Mitch George. How are you doing today?
I'm big, I'm mean, I'm red, and I'm ready to rock.
I am so ready to be talking about this movie. We're back on the Marvel train, folks, talking about a little bit of a weird one to be talking about, frankly. We're talking about Captain America Brave New World, released on Valentine's Day 2025, February 14th, with a runtime of 118 minutes, a budget of $180 million, already making back its money. We won't have final box office numbers for quite some time at this point, but current box office is at $204.6 million. Directed by Julius Ona, starring the fantastic Anthony Mackie, amongst a bunch of other awesome people, including Danny Ramirez, Giancarlo Esposito, Harrison Ford. We are here to talk about Marvel. I want to quickly shout out, though, Julius Ona, the director of this movie. He's awesome. And this is mostly just because I love the Cloverfield Paradox.
Great film.
But before we jump into that, of course, there is the rigmarole to this. First off, hey, you listening there. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Hey, if you're listening, head on over to the YouTube channel, youtube.com/@DPlusUs. To check out the video version of the podcast, video versions of videos, and video versions of Mitch's beard.
You see how big my beard is? I need to get it trimmed. It's
really
real bad.
It's looking real big right now. Actually, I like it.
I do too, but like we went out for dinner tonight and we had ice cream, and like I didn't realize that my beard was in the ice cream until the beard was in my mouth, which is not a good look.
See, I will do that, but I will do that for my long hair.
Yeah, I'm glad I didn't keep the COVID hair, because to do the hair and the beard, I would have looked like a dang hippie.
I am a hippie, so it works out. Yeah, I say as we're talking about Marvel and whatnot, and yeah, strange movie to be talking about. A lot of talk about this movie before it eventually came to theaters, and we will talk about all of that and more. But yeah, check out the YouTube for some fun stuff coming soon. A new video essay finally got up my ass and finished it. So
it's gonna be great.
Mitch makes an appearance in this one.
Well, yeah, that might bring down the views, but it is what it is.
But yeah, we're talking about Captain America Brave New World. The fourth Captain America film, but the first official film for our boy Sam Wilson, the everly wonderful Anthony Mackie, who I just absolutely love to death. Seeing him on the press junket for this one was so fun. I love that man.
He has so much fun with he has so much fun with press. He has so much fun with the audience. I think it's great to see him get his moment. Although, I mean, we'll get into it, but there's a lot to like about this movie, and there's a lot that feels disjointed in a way that takes away from the overall experience.
Yeah, normally I let you go first when asking what I think you think, but I'm going to start us off on this one. Where I tell you, like, I love Anthony Mackie as Captain America. I love the choice of Harrison Ford to fill in the role of Thunderbolt Ross. I love that we took there were a couple of swings that were taken here. This film was really disappointing. This was not a good movie.
Oh, wow. Okay.
For me, this was pretty low tier Marvel. I think there's some cool moments. But I think the reshoots are just way too evident.
Yeah.
There's also, I still very much have the issue of Shira Haas being in this movie. You can tell that
not the actor, but the
actor. Well, not her herself. I don't have any problems with her herself, but more her character and some of her opinions.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm not trying to fall into an anti-Semitic hole. Like, I don't have anything personally against her. But yeah, this character that was brought around, that was supposed to be one thing. And I think to some extent they listened to a lot of the concern from people about putting in a character related to the IDF in this film. it would have been better at that point to just fully cut her. At the point that she is in this film, she is so pointless in this film.
The character was butchered by rewrites and reshoots, for sure, from what the original intent was meant to be. Although the original intent never should have been the
there in
root
the first place,
of the root of where the character was meant to be in the MCU.
Yeah. That said, I do like the idea of Black Widows are kind of just all over the place now.
Yeah.
That is just kind of a fun little world building thing, and I do think that there are some fun little world building things in this. But yeah, ultimately, I did not. Oh, and I really like the fight scenes. The fight scenes are really cool.
Yeah.
But ultimately, I was pretty let down by
the
this.
flight scenes, honestly, with this being a Falcon movie, you know, the Falconization of the Captain America role, I thought were really, really well shot.
Yeah, I think they were very creative. This was that's one of the things I really like about Phase 5 and Phase 6 now. Is like we've gotten so creative with the fight scenes. I would tell you that some of my most favorite fight scenes now of the MCU are the more recent movies. And they are still killing that.
Yeah, I think they've done a great job of evolving the fight choreo as the MCU's kind of developed.
The one thing I do need to give this movie credit for, and this is a spoiler, but we have finally gotten past the issue that the MCU has of let's kill the villain.
Yeah.
Finally.
I mean, with the characters being like the two main, I would say, antagonists of the film being Thunderbolt Ross and the leader being as pivotal. Oh, spoilers, by the way. Being as pivotal to certain characters and from what it seems like certain events that they're setting up in the MCU. I'm glad that they haven't gone anywhere, but I agree with a lot of what you had to say on this movie. That it seems like there was a lot that was left on the cutting room floor, a lot of room to develop characters in a way that they didn't get to tell. I think the biggest disservice here is done to Isaiah Bradley, played wonderfully by Carl Lumbly. There's so much you can explore about this character who was imprisoned by the U.S. government, to basically disavowed by his government and imprisoned for as long as he was. And knowing that this experimentation did happen, like they could have delved a lot deeper into the real root of the issues with the U.S. government. And I think in the current geopolitical landscape of it all, it was probably the right call not to dive as deep as they could have. But I would have loved to have seen more of a conflict there, as opposed to just, Sam's just fighting to get him out of prison. Blah, blah, blah. Like there's layers that could have been added there that were either cut or not really fully fleshed out in early versions of the script that would have been really, really lovely to see.
I'm so curious what the original version of this film looked like with the rest of the Super Society. Seth Rollins was supposed to be in this movie.
He got cut.
I'm so curious what that was.
Yeah, but I mean, that being said, I love the banter between Mackie Ramirez playing Joaquin Torres and Carl Lumbly as Isaiah Bradley. This to me doesn't feel like Captain America 4. It feels like Incredible Hulk 2 without the Hulk.
Yeah, see, that's the one where I'm like, as much as I dislike this movie, I do disagree to a little bit of an extent. I do think that these were very much the right antagonists to put up against Captain America in this situation. I think, the Incredible Hulk has stuff to do with it. Frankly, I think if there's anything that should be considered a sequel to Incredible Hulk, it's She-Hulk. But
when I say this feels like it could have been a sequel to the Hulk, I would have honestly really enjoyed seeing Bruce Banner, not even the Hulk, but Mark Ruffalo appear in this as Bruce Banner and have that be a core tenet of the film, just because of how much history he has with the characters that we see here, with Thunderbolt Ross, with the leader.
But I think at that point, then it is a Hulk movie. Like that, the point of this is that it's not. I think the point of this
point of this is that it's a political espionage film in the vein of Captain America, Winter Soldier, and to a lesser extent, Civil War. So I understand.
I feel where this conversation is
character
going. Can we, before we do it, I feel like we got to put the spoiler tag on.
We've already spoiled the hell out of this movie.
Well, because I'm going to talk about something very specific to why I think it works. Okay. So full spoilers now, folks. If you have not seen the movie and you're worried about spoilers, go watch it. Come on back. Otherwise, we're going to jump fully into it. For me, it is that idea of Sam not taking the super soldier serum and going up against one of the strongest possible enemies you can have when you don't have powers.
He does have a Kevlar lined vibranium suit though. So like,
Which breaks.
which does break. That is not, you're not wrong, but it's
which
not
for
like
what
he's
it's worth, by
going
the way,
in. It's not like he's just going in with his old suit.
The symbolism for what it's worth of him having that vibranium ability now, after, especially like now that we don't have Chadwick Boseman anymore.
Yeah.
Freaking amazing. But yeah, for me, it is that. It is, he wrestles with that throughout the entire movie, right? Of like, God, Steve was an idiot. I should have taken that damn serum. Like, that was my favorite part of this film, was him wrestling with that. Because I think we saw in The Falcon and the Winter Soldier of everybody else dealing with that. Except for Sam.
Yeah, I liked seeing that here, but again, I feel like there's a couple of moments where they talk about him I should have taken it. Why didn't I take it? Especially when he has, okay, big spoiler here, when he has that one-on-one with Bucky, and the conversation they have, I thought that was really poignant. It also feels like that was something that was not in the original script. I don't think that was planned. I think that was definitely reshot.
I think they heard us being like, how the hell are you going to make a Captain America movie without Bucky in it?
I'm also curious to see where we start Thunderbolts with Bucky, since he's currently campaigning to be a congressman.
Mm-hmm. Which
how
is
that
wild,
ties in.
and I love it. I saw people being like, who would vote for the Winter Soldier?
Yeah.
And I'm like, you guys do not understand Gen Z. Gen Z would vote for that man in a heartbeat. This man's out here dismantling the government. Yeah, I'm in.
Yeah, I think another layer to that is the name of the next MCU film. And I loved seeing the trailer before sitting down for this one. Thunderbolts. Like, we haven't had mention of Thunderbolt Ross in any of this, but he is the namesake of that team. Yeah.
Still no. He's never been related to the Thunderbolts.
Yes, he has.
No, he is not. The founder of the Thunderbolts is Baron Zemo.
Am I that out of it right now?
The Thunderbolts are a really weird team. Norman Osborn ran the Thunderbolts for a little bit.
Yeah, as Iron Patriot.
Mm-hmm. And then they came the Dark Avengers.
Yeah.
But yeah, Thunderbolt Ross has never been part of it.
It is, I'm going to be curious to see where that name comes from then in that movie. Maybe it just has to do with like paying homage to the president. I don't know.
I don't know. It's going to be, I mark my words, it is going to be a stupid joke from Alexi. I'm calling it now. But yeah, I mean, the more I talk about it, the more I'm like, I really saw the bones of like this being good. And I'm so disappointed that it's not.
The thing is, this to me feels like a return to early MCU films where like it doesn't have like it's very big, but the stakes aren't world ending. It's not, aliens or any of these, larger global. I mean, it is a global threat, but it is much more akin to a political theater piece than it is the stakes of a comic book, world cataclysmic event. So
I agree,
I kind of like that smaller scope.
Like I like the smaller scope. For me, it's they didn't commit to it. They did not commit one way or the other on this. At this point, you either have to fully dig down deep and either make Ross a villain or a victim. They did not want to choose.
No.
You either go full.
I mean, by the end of the film, he's a victim by the end of the film. They make you feel for him by the end.
By the end, yeah, but I think they had to double down from the beginning.
Yeah, well, again,
you had to double down on the United States opinion in all of this. You had to double down on your side characters here, and they just didn't. They didn't.
Yeah, I mean, it feels like it's kind of a tale of two. Like, it's a tale of multiple stories here, right? Between the rewrites and the reshoots, a lot of what this film was originally meant to be, and even the name changes of the movie. Like, from the original pitch that we were told of this film, they were going to really lean on the fact that the U.S. is the bad guy. And I kind of understand with the result of last year's presidential election why that may have changed. Because
you could tell they saw the writing on the wall.
This very much could have been a lightning rod for the MAGA movement. We don't want that. Our Marvel definitely doesn't want that, but just in general, we don't need to give them any more ammunition.
Yeah, they already co-opted Punisher.
And hockey.
They took
Hockey! Have you not been keeping up with this?
No, I don't watch hockey.
I don't care if you watch it or not. Strap in. Okay,
Oh,
so
boy.
in lieu of an All-Star game this year for the NHL, what they've done instead is they created this marketing ploy called the Four Nations Tournament. And what they did was they put together teams from the U.S., Canada, Finland, and Sweden, had them do this round-robin tournament.
I did see that people booed the U.S. anthem, and I was
Yes,
all there for that.
So when Trump made his comments about the 51st state, Governor Trudeau, all this stuff, specifically at, I can remember there was a Toronto Raptors game where the U.S. anthem was booed. And then I want to say it was Winnipeg or Calgary, somewhere out west, at a hockey game where they booed the U.S. anthem. So we get to this tournament, this, everyone's invited except Russia because,
Russia.
Doping, actually, yeah. Russia's been banned from most, like the IIHF, the International Ice Hockey Federation, I think it's Federation, has banned Russia because of the doping scandal. So, like, they're not allowed to participate in the Olympic tournaments or any of that stuff. So they were not invited to this. Either way, back to the Four Nations thing. So, Canada and the U.S., two longtime hockey rivals on the international stage, get to the first game that they play each other in this tournament, which is in Montreal, Quebec, Canada, and they boo the anthem very loudly, the U.S. anthem specifically. U.S. players not a fan of that. So within 9 seconds of the start of that game, there are 3 fights.
Oh,
and this is an all-star, like this is a glorified all-star game. I don't think this tournament is a good idea. It's probably making them a lot of money. I think it's still a waste of time for the sport. That being said, like as the mid-season break of the sport, like there's no all-star game in any sport that's good. This has apparently been better, but I haven't been watching it. So yeah, there was a lot of players on the U.S. team that were saying, hey, don't boo our, like, think about U.S. born hockey players. Hockey is typically a sport that you have to be quite wealthy to play because equipment's expensive, the team fees are expensive, there's a lot of travel involved. So it is typically a sport dominated by those with white privilege. So you have a lot of these U.S. players who are pro MAGA, whether openly or kind of not super openly, but you can kind of tell, they're wealthy Americans, they're for lower taxes and all this stuff and some of the other BS that goes on there. So get to this game, there's lots of fighting, they boo the anthem. The finals of the tournament ends up being Canada versus the USA. That's actually happening right now, or happened. As of the time of recording, the game's probably over by now. The U.S. team invited President Trump to appear at the game. He chose not to, but sent out very interesting messaging all about, you wouldn't need to have a tournament like this because Canada doesn't have to exist because it's not a country. Y'all trying to freaking annex us, and it's really annoying. So, yeah, they pulled the Trump card in this dumb all-star hockey tournament that I'm not a fan of, and I just want it to get out of my sport.
Hey, if it makes you feel better, he got booed at the Super Bowl.
It does make me feel better, and it's probably why he chose not to appear at this, because even with the finals of the tournament being held in Boston, Massachusetts, with all the Canadians present,
here's the thing.
The U.S. anthem still got booed.
Here's the thing. That man tried to fuck with Philly.
Oh, yeah.
That man's not fucking with Boston.
No. That is the epicenter of
like
fuck authority.
Could you just imagine if the people of Philly and Boston got together on this one? Like, it'd be over like that.
I mean, a Patriots Eagles Super Bowl would probably break the world.
I mean, I'm more just talking about the chaos that you can cause by teaming up Bostonians and Philadelphians against
Trump. If you get them mad at the same thing, it's over.
Mm-hmm. Anyways, bringing it back.
Right, yeah.
I didn't know any of that. But I'd seen that they had booed the initial anthem, but I didn't see anything else. And I don't know shit about hockey in the world of it. So,
I mean, you should. Hockey's a great sport to follow. And you're going to be in Florida where it is very cheap to attend games. Although I will not be attending anything in the U.S. because I'm not planning on supporting that economy in any way after the annexation talk from Donald Trump.
I mean, fair. If I could, I would. But I literally cannot. It's
Buy Canadian.
Stuck here. Bringing it back.
Yeah.
Talking about some of the fun stuff here. There were good things in this. And honestly, the more we've talked about it, the more I'm being a little bit harsh when I say low tier. I do think that
I think
more
subsequent viewings will bring this up
tier.
for you. Like, I think this does feel like a movie that's finally, tying into some of the plot threads that have been open, in some cases almost 15 years, right?
Like I would put this
With-
probably in like around a similar range to like Black Widow.
Yeah, I was thinking like
But
for
slightly
me,
below it.
Eternals is higher on it. So like Black Widow's definitely towards the bottom. So it's kind of like low mid tier for me personally. But I just like that we're finally talking about what do they call it? They didn't,
The Eternals, the Celestial.
yeah, but what do they call it? It was
Celestial
Celestial Island. So like we're finally
Tiamat.
acknowledging this thing that is going to be a world changing event. It is adamantium.
That was
so how
the thing
does
I
that
did
factor
really
in?
like about this is it's like, no, here's the big world changing shit you need to know for the MCU. Adamantium now exists. It is heavily fought over and primarily ran by, I'm going to assume 3 countries. I'm going to assume the U.S. is no longer one of those countries, the countries that's getting any of this.
I think that's reasonable. And you know who's going to take that spot to develop the Weapon X program?
Canada.
Canada, bringing it back.
No, I don't think we'll see Wolverine because of this.
No, I don't think so either. But I think what's interesting there is they set it up to be this, next tier of materials. It's stronger than vibranium. There's no, it's going to be interesting to see how that factors into the MCU, or it'll be something they forget to talk about for the next 8 years.
We set that up. We set up that the Sokovia Accords are kaput, but we kind of really already knew that because of She-Hulk. But it was more reiterated for everyone who didn't watch She-Hulk.
We're starting to talk about a new Avengers
and we're setting up a new Avengers team, which will probably have both Sam and Joaquin on it.
I would imagine so, yes.
And I love that.
So my biggest gripe with this film, and I can understand why they did this, but I don't like that they had to, or felt like they had to do this. Red Hulk factored too much into the marketing of this film.
Oh man, can you imagine if they never said a thing about Red Hulk?
Us as comic book fans would be like, oh, this is dope. But if you got to that transformation scene and it hadn't been in the fucking trailer, it would have popped off. Whereas my theater was like, okay, it's happening now. I guess the movie's over.
I liked I liked for how much they teased it. Like the
tease doesn't work if you know we're getting it. That's the problem.
Well, for me, it was more of the time bomb where we don't know when it's going to go off, but we know it's going to go off.
We know it's going to go off in the third act.
For what it's worth, I agree with you. But
yeah,
I did really love like when they're in the flight fight scene on Eternals at Celestial Island.
Oh,
and
when he's on
like
the sub?
he's on the sub and like crushing the pipe. And it's at the same time with them talking about the pills with the leader in his head while Sam is saving the world. Like, I did like that combination of things, and I thought that really added to the tension of that fight of, hey, you could do everything right here, but also the Red Hulk could pop at this moment and everything could go to shit. Like...
You know what I didn't enjoy, though, is the fact that they tried to shoehorn Giancarlo Esposito into far too much of this movie.
I just love that man.
I do too, but his character I didn't care.
I hope
why does he have blue contacts?
I hope he becomes a reoccurring character. Like,
I hope not. Like,
no, I hope we get him more. Like, of just like that he is like the go-to now like assassin character. I'm so curious to see what the Serpent Society was supposed to be like, man, with him there.
I mean, I feel like it was this, regardless of how it ended up in the film. Like, it was going to be a militia group that was lightly themed after the Serpent Society of the comics, because I don't think they were planning on going full Serpent Society.
Fair, but they were brighter costumes, significantly brighter costumes.
Yeah,
which
looking
makes me
at
think that they were
and Rollins' characters specifically.
It makes me think that they were definitely a mercenary group, but more of a brighter colored supervillain mercenary group, like they are in the comics.
More of a wrecking crew and less of a militia like we got here. Yeah.
That said,
that's a group that I want. Like, I know we've seen aspects of the wrecking crew, I think, in the Netflix shows.
It's more like we've seen more like teases. I wouldn't say we've seen anything definitively wrecking crew.
Like, I would like to just see the wrecking crew feature as like a B tier villain that opens a movie with their powers and everything. Like,
we need more villains of that level of the B tier randoms. Like, have that villain that we start the movie with beating up.
Batroc the Leaper, Winter Soldier.
Yeah.
That was awesome. And they kind of tried to do the same thing here with Giancarlo Esposito, but I think he factored into far more of the movie than he probably should have.
Looking at some other stuff here. How'd you feel about how the leader looked?
I liked it. I can understand why they didn't go like I feel like that was something that was probably done in post because he would have just been green screened on set and then they figure out the design later. But I kind of like this more than Big Head Leader, just because
I prefer Big Head.
It's easier
Leader.
to go incognito.
For what it's worth, these are practical effects.
No, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Tim Blake Nelson specifically requested for them to be practical effects. My only wish here is that I wish they had made him more green. Like, we see that kind of tinted green skin a little bit there, but I wish they doubled down, like, really made him green, really made him stand out. Because, like, the leader is not one to be incognito when he makes his appearance. He plays behind the scenes but when he reveals himself, he is loudly and proudly himself. And
yeah,
I wish
so I mean, from that I think we will. I don't think this is the last we've seen of Tim Blake Nelson as the leader in the MCU, especially with that post-credit scene teasing multiverse shenanigans.
I hated that post-credit scene so much.
It wasn't necessary, but I would have rather it been a little less vague because, like, we as the viewer know multiverse stuff is happening. So for the post-credit scene to just be they're coming,
like,
doesn't really.
Like, here's the thing for me with this, with a lot of the post-credit scenes, and I'm going to bring it into comic book storytelling, where comic book storytelling, especially with big crossover events, it's very good at setting the cliffhanger.
Yeah,
you set because that's how comics work in a long-running series. You'll have your 6-issue arc, right? Where, like, each of those first 5 issues will be a cliffhanger into the next issue. And then the 6th issue will wrap everything up and give you a small cliffhanger into the next 6-issue arc, and so on and so forth. The problem comes when you start making your cliffhangers for the same thing multiple times over. And for the last 5 or 6 now, Marvel movies, like, for most of the last phase, that cliffhanger has been, there's an incursion coming, multiverse shenanigans are going to happen. We have been getting that cliffhanger since Doctor Strange. Like,
we've been getting that cliffhanger since I would argue as far back as Shang-Chi.
Yeah, I mean,
with the signal from somewhere, we don't know where that somewhere is.
True, very true. Like, when we are doing the same thing over and over and over again, it's hard not to be frustrated with it. I really thought going into this, the cliffhanger here would be Sam figuring out who to be on the Avengers next,
or at least a tease at who he's invited. Like, if we got just a shot of Simu Liu, I would have been very happy.
Mm-hmm. Him or Wong or, like, any of the people that have contacts.
Shuri.
Yeah. Hell, I would have been laughing my ass off if it was like him calling Jimmy Woo, because he's somehow in contact with a dozen fucking superheroes.
No. Howard the Duck.
Okay, that makes less sense.
Tying it back to What If. No, I think what's interesting, too, with you bringing up the idea that Tim Blake Nelson's leader was practical, I don't think they could have made practical Big Head work the way they made practical Brain work, if that makes sense.
Very fair. Yeah, I agree with that.
Like, I think this is not less about the incognito thing, and I do think in future appearances he will not be incognito, but it made sense for the political intrigue that he was trying to layer into his manipulation of the U.S. government. I don't think going forward that'll be his goal. So I think it'll be a little less incognito, a little more traditional leader. But with this being, his first foray into not being imprisoned, I can understand wanting to try and continue to stay out of prison. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I liked it. I wasn't opposed to it. I thought it was grotesque enough
I liked
justify what he was doing to Thunderbolt Ross.
Mm-hmm. I do like the look of it. I just wish they had been a little bit more supervillainy with it.
Yeah.
But I also
the eyes were weird.
Yeah, like it really for me is I just wish they made his skin a little more clearly green.
Green. Yeah.
I love the
And
little
maybe they
things we saw
will
in
if he
this,
gets
though.
another shot of Gamma or something. Like we don't know what's gonna.
Or
come
maybe
from
he
this
just will
character.
be in a different project because they are all stylized slightly differently.
Yep.
I do want to shout out him using Mr. Blue. I
Yeah.
thought that was a fun little nod
Great callback.
to Incredible Hulk. We talked about it for just a minute, and we'll get into the end stuff of this one eventually. I thought it was very interesting having Sam, especially using his Sam and Joaquin. I thought was a very interesting dynamic. It's one we kind of saw a little bit in The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, in like that first episode, really. It very much reminds me of Tony and Rhodey
Yeah.
in Iron Man 2 when they're like actually fighting together versus in the first one when he has like that moment where he like nods to being War Machine.
Yeah, which I think we got a lot of that. Like we got the build in Falcon and Winter Soldier. I think that's the right place to build up characters like Joaquin Torres. And we got a lot of the payoff here. Like you, having seen that, you feel for him in the scene where he ends up shot out of the sky, and knowing that he's using the traditional Falcon suit, he doesn't have the same layers of protection that Sam does with his upgraded suit. And we got to get him a vibranium suit.
There was a great moment for them when they were like on the deck of the air or on the air carrier. When you see like Sam's nanotech suit, but he's holding his helmet.
Yeah, well, not even the suit. Like I think it's just the nanotech helmet, right?
Yeah, it's really the helmets that
nanotech
I'm going for here,
cowl.
like showing the difference in technology there.
Yeah. I thought it was great. And like, there's just all these little great moments between them when Sam walks in, like, "Oh yeah, we're going. Pack your shit." Like now we're going. And like, there's fun comedic beats like
Or like
that,
those
as well
them
as,
and Isaiah like in the limo. Fucking
yeah, that
great.
was fun. Or even when they're on the sub and it's like, we got to get birds in the air. It's like you got two birds right here, and they both just,
Take off.
that was such a cool moment. They're just like, all right, let's go deal with this. And oh man,
Yeah, it's
like there's a lot to really enjoy about this. Like it's not a good movie, but it's an enjoyable movie.
My only thing is I wish we had given Joaquin more character development than I got shot out of the sky and now realize that this is a dangerous job. Like,
But I mean, I kind of like that parallels the way that Sam lost his jump partner prior to the events of Winter Soldier.
it just feels like it just again is one of those things where it feels like we've seen this before.
It's a trope for sure, and it's something they can definitely get away from. But honestly, like, what else do you do with a pilot? There's not much else you can do.
See, I feel like with these particular characters, I feel like, especially with the history of Joaquin Torres comic book wise, Joaquin Torres in the comic books is a very, very, very different character.
Birdman go, wow.
Birdman, who was illegally smuggled by Hydra and done experiments on, like,
Hey, who knows? We might still get that.
yeah, you never know. I'm just assuming that Hydra is somehow still around somehow in the MCU.
So Hydra, you can't kill Hydra. Cut off one head to take its place.
Even though like we haven't seen Hydra since Winter Soldier.
But like, imagine like for this movie going like, sorry to circle back on something we talked about a while ago, but like you mentioning Hydra, the Hydra twist in Winter Soldier was not something anyone saw. I mean, you could see some of the breadcrumbs throughout the movie, but it was not like it wasn't in the promotional materials. Things are going to change. This is going to be like, allegiances are going to be decided. We're going to choose sides, blah, blah, blah. Like, it was a surprise that Hydra was the main foil of that film. And imagine if we hadn't gotten that Red Hulk tease in the promotional materials. And again, there's so much that goes into merchandising and toys and all this stuff.
Yeah,
like,
and we say this for quite literally every movie we go see now.
I know. I just want to stop having to watch trailers.
Mm-hmm. Too bad, like, those are our most viewed things.
God damn it. We should probably react to more of those.
Yeah, remember when we were, like, getting ready to react to Super Bowl stuff and there was one trailer?
Hey, that Stitch Super Bowl spot was great. What are you talking about?
That was great, but what are we going to react to there?
He's adorable, and I want this movie.
Yeah, fair enough.
30-second video. Done.
I get to see that.
Give you more TikTok shorts and YouTube shorts and stuff.
I'm working on them.
I know. I deleted TikTok from my phone, so I'm never going to see it.
Fair enough. And that explains why you aren't seeing the TikToks I'm sending you.
1,000%. I deleted it. I was spending too much time on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. So,
Just
advice to anyone: just take a social media detox every once in a while. Like, totally cut it out, and you'll probably live a happier life. The
Yeah, I've
only
been
thing I
using-
kept was Reddit.
Mitch.
I need a way to get news. I don't use Twitter. I deleted that months ago. So
I would
like,
trust TikTok over Reddit. And that's not
Yeah,
saying
but the
anything
pro-
towards TikTok. That's just saying anything against Reddit.
yeah, but also like,
And I know, folks, before the internet flays me, I know some subreddits are really good about stuff and whatnot, but just the overall vibe of Reddit, guys. Come on.
well, I know the vibes aren't there, but neither are they on TikTok. Sometimes I don't like what the algorithm can do in terms of how it can trigger some anxieties I have, and also endless video scroll for me it's a death warrant, especially with a young child at home that I want to spend more time with. I don't want him to see me scrolling the way that I've scrolled on social media. So
Fair. I've gotten way better about being able to cut it off. And I'm
I
also
haven't.
using it with moving to find stuff out there and whatnot and bring it back.
Yeah.
I got two more major things I want to talk about before we jump really into the end of this. First off is something we mentioned already, but that Sam and Bucky scene. Yep, it did very much feel like it was added on, but still one of the better moments I think in this movie.
I liked it.
I think it was very sweet. It was real weird seeing him with the slick back hair.
The slick back hair. He looked very skinny as well.
He looked, honestly, you know what he did? He looked fresh off of his role in The Apprentice.
I was going to say the weight loss from The Apprentice definitely showed.
But it was a moment where
I feel like that was
genuinely-
shot after Thunderbolts, right?
I don't actually know. Probably around the same time.
I just got to imagine either the bulk up for one or the weight loss from the other would really do a number on one.
But yeah, like seeing him, like I resisted the urge to like scream in the theater when I saw Bucky. I was so happy to see him, and I'm so happy that wasn't spoiled for us. Like, and I did kind of tear up a little bit of seeing him there. Of like, no, Bucky still has Sam's back, no matter what. And I do really applaud them for actually putting him in the film and not saying shit.
I also like the fact that within the MCU canon, Dermot Mulroney lost a presidential race against Harrison Ford. Because that was the last U.S. president that we saw in the MCU in the much, let's just say, maligned Secret Invasion.
Oh yeah, I forgot the president was in Secret Invasion.
We forgot a lot about that show, mostly because no one wants to remember it exists, even Disney.
Yeah, we're never gonna get a resolution to that cliffhanger.
I still don't. It still sorry. I keep thinking back. Why did they have to put contacts on Giancarlo Esposito? It looks weird.
Honestly, that was one of those where I forgot about it. Anyways,
It looks so weird.
I forgot about it entirely.
It's weird.
I mean, you can keep complaining about it. It doesn't mean I'm gonna remember it.
I know. It's still weird.
The other surprise that I want to talk about, which again was one I did not see coming, just because I did not think that they would actually be able to get her to come reprise her role, was bringing Liv Tyler back.
Yeah, I was surprised. I mean, when we got the audio, I'm like, oh, that's neat. They got her to do some voice, or they reused footage.
I thought I was like, oh, that's nice. They cut together like some of her voice lines from Incredible Hulk into this. It's like,
I was
nope.
worried it was AI generated. To be frank, at first.
But you're Mitch.
What?
You're not Frank. You're Mitch.
Oh, shut up! You're not a dad.
If I can't make these jokes against you, who can I?
Your own father.
He doesn't listen to my jokes anymore.
Smart man.
Yeah, it was one of those where I honestly, I like this. Apparently she was originally supposed to be in this much more.
Who?
Liv Tyler.
Really?
Mary
I didn't know
Ross.
that.
Yeah, this is just some stuff I'd found on like Wikipedia. But yeah, apparently she was supposed to be like super central to the story, Ross's storyline throughout this, which makes me wonder if something had happened, if she could have gotten like fridged or something.
I mean,
But-
or maybe it was like maybe it was originally planned to have her as a larger part of the film and set up a future Red She-Hulk, and then She-Hulk happened.
Yeah, maybe. I'm not sure why the change, but I ultimately like what she had to do in here.
They used her just enough.
Yeah, before now, Betty Ross was a character where she was kind of on the same level for me as like Natalie Portman before Love and Thunder. Of like,
Yeah.
fun to have this character just around every once in a while. Of like, hey, guess what? Super scientists are around and they're all busy studying shit because that's what makes the world work
And occasionally they have sex.
with superheroes. I'm trying to see if there's anything else to bring up in this one. Vibes were cool.
I mean, it was nice. It was nice to get out of the house for Valentine's Day. Thanks, Marvel, for setting that one up, giving me something to strive towards in terms of being able to be comfortable having parents babysit a 2.5-month-old. That was nice.
Yeah, how'd that go?
Fine. He's been really good. Like tonight, so we've been out for dinner with him a few times. Tonight was the first time he's been fussy while we've been out. Normally he just sleeps through everything when we're out. But tonight was, we had to do diaper, we had to do bottle. It was a whole thing. But he was still pretty good.
Oh, two other things I want to throw out here. First off, the cherry blossom petals and how that kind of played into everything. That was pretty cool. I really like
Nice
that.
little plot device. I didn't love how CG it looked.
Which is funny because it wasn't CG.
I know, but it looked CG.
Like, I like that it gave it a distinct look. It did give it a unique flair to that fight. And
Yeah.
I don't
Oh,
think
totally
I
did.
honestly didn't think it looked very CG. But I think that was after I had seen, shots of them filming it. The other thing I want to throw out here is I like that we're finally setting up the Raft as the supervillain prison.
Yeah.
Because that one day there will be a Raft escape.
Yeah, it would have been neat here rather than the raft if they use this to set up the cube. Which has typically been where they've housed Gamma
specific
folks.
Yeah. But like,
Granted, I don't think they have enough of them to justify it, so I get, repurposing something we've already seen.
this is the
as
first
that
villain
supervillain prison.
we have actually seen be put into the Raft. No.
Yeah?
Yeah, no, because Zemo didn't go to the Raft.
No, because we've only seen the folks that were locked up at the end of Civil War in the raft.
Yeah. So I hope we continue to see villains get locked up in the Raft. And like in the way that we got like that tease at the end of Spider-Man Homecoming of like Toombs in prison, and then we also see Scorpion and stuff.
But that was Riker's probably, right?
But seeing stuff like that and being like,
They're not super powered, right? So I can understand
I'm saying doing
that.
stuff like that, but at the Raft of what is happening here, how do people get loose, etc., etc. That is very famously how the New Avengers were formed. So I'm interested to see if that plays a role in any of that.
I'm curious to see if now that we're getting the introduction of the Fantastic Four, do you think we might get the prison that's in the negative zone?
Nihilus?
No, not. I would love to see the Annihilus storyline, but no, isn't there a prison in the Marvel universe? Prison 42.
42, yeah. Oh, the
That we
prison.
saw in the Civil War.
I heard person.
No, prison.
Yeah,
So
prison
yeah,
42.
prison 42 in the negative zone would be really neat to see as another this is where everything goes that we cannot have exist in our universe.
See, that feels like a phase 12 thing to me. Like that just feels
Or
like
I'm
ridiculously far out at this point.
Oh, for sure, but I think it would be neat. Like even if it was, we don't know what to do with these folks that are coming through via incursion, so we'll find a different place to house them because we don't know what their matter interacting with the matter in our universe is actually going to do.
Like thinking
kind of
about it,
deal.
I think it's like thinking about the different supervillain prisons in Marvel, right? You've got the Cube, which I don't think we'll ever really see. I think the closest we've seen to that is the
Raft.
not even the Raft. It is Damage Control. And where they were keeping Abomination.
Yeah.
I think that's the closest we'll ever see to that. I don't think we'll ever see the Big House.
No, I don't think without Hank Pym playing a larger role in the MCU that the big house
It
makes
could be
sense.
cool, but I don't think we'd ever see it. I think
Well,
we would
I don't think
see
we'd see Scott do it. So,
Yeah.
like, yeah, it's not going to
I think we would see some sort of space prison before we would see
42.
Project 42.
I don't know if we'll see prison. I don't know if we'll see Project 42 in the MCU just because we've already gotten past
Past Civil War.
a very different Civil War storyline.
I
But
think
that
we
is
could.
really like,
I could see it being some Illuminati shit.
yeah, it'd be neat if they set up a different version of the Illuminati in the MCU 616 universe.
Yeah, I think there's a lot that could happen there. But I
The
mean,
vault could be something we see.
the Vault is something we'll definitely see.
Yeah,
But I think it's going to be different. I think it will be a.
it has to be different. Yeah,
If we see the Vault, it's going to be an old Shield bunker.
it'd be an
And
old
it is-
shield
it
bunker.
would be
Maybe it's
about-
where they're putting like mutants or something.
See, I think it would be technology that they deemed far too dangerous to be, even in Shield
Yeah,
hands.
Yeah, that could.
I
do
feel like
so.
that's the kind of vibe they would go for there. Because like
Yeah,
the one thing about the
but if they
MCU
were-
is like they've been very particular about how they bring in some of the weirder shit.
Yeah, I mean the vault would have been something interesting to introduce with Toomes because of the superpowered suit. But
Yeah, if we see anything,
probably also harder to set that up now without a Tony Stark.
I think we're gonna focus on the raft though. If on any of
Yeah,
those
and which
occasions.
honestly is fine. Raft for powered individuals, Rikers for
Oh,
non-powered,
actually, you
I
know
think
what?
is-
Here's my pitch for the Vault. We have a character that we introduced in Falcon and the Winter Soldier that we're never gonna fucking use.
Yes, we are. She's going to show up in Thunderbolts.
That is a bold claim, and I'm gonna hold you to it.
She's going to be in Thunderbolts. We're talking about the Power Broker, right?
Yeah, we're talking about the Power Broker.
I think that she's in cahoots with Valentina, and that's how.
I think she'll work with
I honestly think the Power Broker is how Sentry becomes Sentry.
Okay, I'm gonna pull us back a second.
Yeah,
Are we
do that,
thinking?
because otherwise I'm going down a rabbit hole.
Well, no, with this because we're making a proper bet here.
Mm-hmm.
Are we saying during the actual movie itself, or post credit scene?
During the events of Thunderbolts, the Power Broker is either referred to or seen on screen.
Yeah, I'll take that bet. I don't think she's going anywhere near that. I think
We shall see.
the closest next thing we would see from her is Armor Wars. It sounded like that project was under dev hell.
Well, they just announced a few projects that were rumored that are no longer moving forward at the moment, with Nova, I think, it was Nova, Strange Academy, and something else today. They said they've shelved for the foreseeable future.
Which is disappointing, but not surprising.
No.
Yeah, I think it's funny. Like, even though I'm disappointed about this movie, and I think I've grown fonder of this movie as we've moved forward and talked about it today.
Again,
I'm
like,
still excited for the future of the MCU.
I really enjoy Eternals. I know it's not for everybody, but I do think the events of that film with Celestial Island and the events here are going to be referred back to with some fondness as they become more integral to future storytelling in the MCU. I think the events with the US government is going to have ramifications in the MCU. The events of the Celestial Island conflict will have ramifications. So I hate having to say it, Griffin. But this is definitely
God
going to have
damn
a
it.
Thor the Dark World effect going forward.
Add it to the montage. God damn you.
If I didn't close on that, who am I really?
Yeah, I'm still excited for the future of the MCU. I think this, despite me being down on this one, I think it leaves things in a very interesting place.
Really looking forward to where we go next with Thunderbolts.
And yeah, honestly, I think Thunderbolts has potential to be one of my favorites. I am so excited for that film. But that
And
film is
the
so far away.
It's really not. It's like May. And
I
then
know.
Fantastic Four
And
is in
I
July.
don't want to wait.
Well, you're gonna have to. You got a lot going on between now and May. Just
I am an
relax.
impatient person, Mitch.
Yeah, but now you're gonna get to watch that at the AMC at Disney World.
Ha 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 ha.
Yeah, but I also don't have to live in the US.
Shit, you got me there.
Hey,
On that note,
and
folks, thank you very much for listening.
I'm not actually throwing shade. Y'all do your thing. There's
anyone-
just a sect of y'all that give me a hard time being Canadian.
Anybody took that as serious? I am concerned.
If anyone got to this point and then was offended by the fact that I made a joke about living in what is near dictator state in the U.S.,
That was very
I
clearly a
apologize.
bit. Yeah, if you're mad about that, frankly, fuck off.
Talk to us. We'll talk about it.
No, you can talk. I'm telling you to fuck off.
Yeah, that's fine.
I'm tired of people. Anyways,
I'm just tired all the time.
we got some fun episodes coming up here, folks. We will be eventually doing an episode on Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man.
Yeah. Can we talk about how much of an asshole the voice actor Spider-Man is?
Oh yeah, fuck that guy.
Sweet.
Which is hilarious. Honestly, his comments about the show I think are hilarious. Now having watched
Win
the
or
show.
Lose is starting. And
Win
we
or
got to
Lose is
talk
starting.
about that at some point.
We are going to be talking about those eventually.
Probably not weekly. We don't have time
definitely
right
not
now.
weekly. Our next weekly show is probably going to be Daredevil.
Daredevil.
But things are going to be a little bit weird in the coming future just because I am moving and probably not going to be able to record for a couple weeks. So we're going to get to those two shows when we can.
Fingers crossed. I'm not going to commit us to it here, but hopefully we'll get Spider-Man talked about and then be ready to do Win or Lose once it wraps. But don't hold us to that.
Yeah, it's very variable at the moment. So if Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man is our next episode, great. If not, we got a great trilogy coming up. We pre-recorded a few episodes here that you're going to be seeing here shortly about a fantastic trilogy that Disney has made.
And it is only a trilogy. There were definitely not other films made in this franchise that we're going to ignore.
Yeah, but keep an eye out for that. Keep an eye out for a new video essay coming soon on the YouTube channel.
Will it go up before Griffin moves? Stay tuned to find out.
Oh no, because that's very soon. And I need to finish editing it.
Spoilers. It won't.
Anyways, folks, thank you very, 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 very much for listening. Go check out all of our other stuff. We will see y'all in the next episode. But until next time, be good to each other and have a magical day.
Excelsior.